Peace World, and welcome everybody to Foundation Radio. My name is Adam Barnard. Thank you so much for joining me today. My guest today, to my left, the writer at Forbes and the host of Pro Wrestling Bits, Alfred Konuwa. How are you, sir? Thank you for joining me again.
Doing great. Great time to be alive. Happy holidays to you and yours, and it's good to be here with you two brothers. I love talking wrestling with you guys.
Me as well, sir. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody and to both of you as well. And to my right is the co-host of the Jobber Tears podcast and co-chair with Cameron Hawkins of the Sting Fan Club. Sir Wilkins is here. How are you, sir? Good to see you.
I am well. How are you guys?
Everything is good here, man. Everything is good. It is, as Alfred said, it's a great time to be a wrestling fan, and we have a lot to jump into today. I know I want to get started at the top of the program. I know I want to pull apart Crown Jewel a little bit, and I want to talk to you guys about the big match, the Solo Sikoa John Cena match. There's been a lot of critique and criticism since that match happened when they were talking about how over Solo Sikoa is now at this point as compared to Austin Theory's match at this year's WrestleMania. So, Alfred, I want to start with you. Tell me how you felt about the match overall, and tell me how you feel like Solo Sikoa is going to prosper going forward.
I thought it was great. I thought it was more effective in terms of putting over a young talent with Solo Sikoa, obviously because of how dominant he was against John Cena, how emphatically he beat the crap out of him with that spike. That's how you put a guy over. Yeah. Solo Sikoa, I think we've thought for a while now is going to be a huge star coming out of the bloodline because he is booked opposite Roman Reigns, getting that rub from Roman Reigns, but also as the enforcer and as an alpha. You know, I saw the Chimp Empire on Netflix. It's this great documentary about chimp empires, which mirror every society, even humans, in terms of there's an alpha, but then there's a guy who's challenging the alpha, is coming up and going head to head where the alpha is threatened by it. And that's the story they're telling with Roman Reigns and Solo. And when Solo rises and becomes that alpha, he's going to be every bit the star that Roman Reigns is, especially if he has Paul Heyman. So that's why I think it's going to be more effective with Solo than it is with Austin Theory. Austin Theory kind of seems like a cut, copy, and paste, basic kind of run to the greatness. And he hasn't really figured out that next level. He hasn't tapped into that next thing. I think Solo Sikoa is a finished product, and that's why it's going to be more impactful that he beat John Cena.
Wilkins, what's your take on that? What do you think about Austin's Theory? Where do you think he went wrong? Because it felt like that match was supposed to be, to Alfred's point, that big, like, establishing this human being, establishing the new blood in this company, and it just felt, to me, it fell flat on its face. How do you feel? Where do you think they went wrong with Austin Theory?
It was Cena's fault, first of all.
That's a bold statement, sir.
I don't think anybody wants to ever admit it, but it was Cena's fault. I think all of us were there live for that match, and it was just not good. Mm-hmm. It's not 100% Cena, but I'll put more the weight on Cena, him being the veteran and everything. And Cena kind of said it. He's like, I don't got it like that anymore. I ain't got the juice like that. His orange is basically squeezed out when it comes to professional wrestling, and Austin Theory is lost because it's one of those things where he has everything going for him. But where do you put him? What is he? Is he better as a babyface? Is he better as a heel? And then either one is not really hitting right now, and it's going to take a while for him to find his footing. And he's like what John Cena was when John Cena first came. Yes, you got everything, but where do you fit? And that's what Austin's at. Like, what do you do now?
Right.
Because everything seems a little bit flat because it's so generic. They put him. Mm-hmm. They tried the face roll, didn't really work because he has a punchable face. They tried the heel stuff, and it's like it's borderline cringy. And then now we have him. He's kind of doing the Grayson Waller thing. Kind of got that going on, and it's still
I like that.
Not completely completely hitting, but because it's more Grayson at this point. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's more Grayson trying to help him out. But we'll see. I'm not losing faith in the guy because I actually genuinely like him. It's just that he just hasn't found the right recipe yet. Everything has been salt and pepper and no real spice.
There's no Lowry's in the mix here is what we need. Yeah. And he's not for me it's like there's the Grayson Waller stuff for me is working, right? Because Grayson Waller just has that prick appeal to him, right? There's something you really dislike about the guy. There's something about Austin Theory that I really kind of like, but also dislike at the same time. Like the heel stuff seems disingenuous to me. Do you think that there is a Doctor of Thugonomics moment for Austin Theory anywhere, or do you think it's just going to be him floating around the card for a while until he's future endeavored? Where do you see him standing on that?
I don't think Triple H likes him either.
That could be it. He was Vince's guy.
he was a Vince guy, and if you look at let's look at like everybody that's like on top right now,
Right.
and on both sides, women and the women division and the men's division. Besides like the Samoan dynasty thing, bloodline, everybody's a wrestler.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and there's a few that fall through, but Vince was the strictly entertainment. You look good.
Yeah.
Triple H is not like that, and I don't want to completely blame Triple H because it could be other things, other factors. But I just think maybe he needs to like step up the in ring a little bit, and I think he's fine in the ring, but maybe to that glorious level, that technical level, to add a little bit more to himself to get a little bit over with the man who's in charge now.
Yeah. What do you think, Alfred? What do you think's missing from? What do you think? Do you think he has the opportunity to have one of those Dr. Thugonomics moments?
Yeah, I think Austin Theory is too big to fail. I think he is going to eventually get over. They put a lot in him. And if you remember, yeah, he's very young right now, and he's not really that upper echelon type best wrestler in the world prototype. But he came from Evolve, Triple H's boys with Gabe Sapolsky. He was an early blue chip prospect before he even got to the main roster, to where they were looking at him. They were booking Austin Theory in matches with NXT guys, even when he was with Evolve. So this relationship with WWE does go back, and I do think they are invested in him. They're just trying to figure it out, and I think they will. I think he's on to something with this Grayson Waller feud. And if they spin off and he's the babyface and Grayson is a heel, I think they both can get over like that. I see a Miz and Morrison type dynamic where Morrison ended up being a pretty big star in WWE. He was not the main eventer. He did not get there, but he was around there and in the mix. And I see that as even a floor for Austin Theory, as a guy who gets in this hot tag team. Hopefully they get hotter and they get the titles, and then they turn on each other and have a feud. And I think it's really going to help him. And that's going to be his moment where he spins off and he evolves, hopefully as a babyface.
That's
so
really
let me ask you guys this question real quick.
Sure. Yeah, go ahead.
If, let's say he has a pretty good a career after all this, is he a failure if he's a mid-carder?
Yes.
I would say so. Based on
100%.
what everything they...
You beat John Cena at Wrestle. You don't beat John Cena at WrestleMania to be a mid-carder. They're telling us this guy's going to be the main event. So if he is a mid-carder, we're going to break this down in hindsight. Like, he beat John Cena too early.
Right.
They don't give him a match like that at WrestleMania for him to be a mid-carder. So anything less than being a main eventer is going to be a disappointment.
I agree with that. I think at this point, what they've done with him, what they've tried to do with him with that entire U.S. title run, which I thought was a fucking disaster, everything that they've done with him so far, just they want him to be over. They want him to be the guy, and he's just not the guy. So if anything less than the guy, it's a failure for me. I don't see where you can go from there. The other question I have here going forward from this is LA Knight losing to Roman Reigns, which we all know is coming. We all knew that was going to happen. I know, wasn't surprised. It was not a shock to anybody. Where do you guys feel? We'll start with Alfred and we'll go to Wilkins here. How are you guys feeling about the Bloodline storyline? How are we feeling about LA Knight going forward? Do you think he's lost any momentum because of the loss? And do you think it's time to pull the trigger on someone?
As a whole, the Bloodline storyline is the greatest pro wrestling storyline I've ever seen as a whole. But like anything, like any show in its fourth season, you're going to have lulls. Game of Thrones got kind of boring at some points. Like, you're going to have lulls, and we're in a lull right now with the Bloodline. And the problem is LA Knight has come out of nowhere. I don't think he's lost any momentum. I do think the problem is he's sucked up into Hurricane Roman. Right now is hurricane season for Roman Reigns, where nobody is beating Roman Reigns until WrestleMania when Cody beats him. Like, nobody's going to be believable. It's the same problem with Rhea Ripley right now. Mm-hmm. It's a similar problem kind of with Gunther, where it's like, you're not going to really know who the guy is until it's like WrestleMania season and they really push a guy. Like, LA Knight is in an unfortunate situation where he just so happens to be feuding with Roman Reigns at a time where they're not taking the title off him. So that's going to hurt LA Knight.
Wilkins, what do you think?
I don't think, like, I agree with Alfred. Like, it's not a big deal. Like, it's Roman Reigns is the final boss. Like, any game you played, you lost to the final boss, you got your life back, and then you go back to playing again.
Right.
Like, that's what it is. It wasn't like he's going to be, he's done, and that was a rub for him. All right, let's see how he is against Roman put him in a semi-big PLE, which is Crown Jewel, because now Crown Jewel is basically a regular pay-per-view at this point. Like, it's just part of it. It's canon. It's part of the stories now. So we're all invested. Put him in that situation. Let's see how the Saudi people react to him. Boom, great. Let's see how the people at home react to him. Boom, great. Is people mad that he lost? Yes. More babyface love. Oh, yeah, he should have won. We're setting him up for the bigger situation. Because imagine if he beat Roman Reigns.
Right.
Yeah.
What's going to happen after?
Well, right. There's no story. There's nothing. There's no meat on the bone there. They're feeding him the new guy. They're feeding him, okay, you can't get over quite yet. My thought has consistently been, and I knew once they announced the match at Crown Jewel that Logan Paul was going to go over on Rey Mysterio. We kind of all knew that, like, pretty much immediately. Logan's doing crazy things with that belt, things that we're not going to talk about on the air here, but he is bringing it a level of, I mean, it's Wilkins level stuff almost on your Twitter, right? Like, that's, if Wilkins was the United States champion, I would be expecting him to do these things on Twitter. But anyway, I digress.
Wilkins, you nasty.
Remind me to have him tell you his hotel story from Detroit. But he, but he's on Twitter. He's doing the things. Everything is going well, and it's in public, right? It's in public view. Everything is there. I think LA Knight's being targeted for that U.S. belt because I think they want him to start at that level. I do think LA Knight is the next step. I do think he's the next guy. And to your guys' point about, and Wilkins, I think you made this point about, like, the land of the giants not being a thing anymore. To Alfred's point, too, Cody's got to be the guy, right? Cody has to be the guy. It makes sense in Philadelphia. It's the Rocky 2 story, right? He loses to Apollo Creed in Rocky 1. He comes back as the triumphant underdog and beats the champion, right? But I think the pivot from that point is going to be some more of the what you would consider smaller guys, right? You have guys like LA Knight. You have guys potentially like Austin Theory, potentially CM Punk if he decides he wants to come back. You have smaller guys who are going to be champion, and I feel like that's going to be Hunter's trajectory. Do you guys agree with that or disagree with that? Where do you think that once we're in a post-Roman era, where do you think he goes from there?
Well, I think smaller guys are have always kind of been in because steroids is like a thing of the past.
Well, right. You know what I mean, though, but like the look of those guys. Yeah.
And then the way wrestling, everybody's a wrestler nowadays. So let's just break it down. As you can see, there's how many promotions out there. There's tons of independent wrestlers. And with wrestling, it's not like the NBA and like the NFL or like other thing. It's not the 1% of the 1% that goes in. Because let's be honest, to be in the NFL and the NBA, you got to be a freak of nature borderline.
Right.
Like,
right.
You're 6'6", what are you doing? You should not be playing the flute. Go play basketball. go run or do something. Like, it's that. But wrestling is more accessible. And then also, you need a bunch of people.
Yeah.
You need a ton of people. So, and if you can do the moves, if you can pull this off and get the crowd pulled in, it's gonna things are gonna be different. And people are and we want wrestling.
Yeah.
As you see it on Twitter all the time. Oh man, this guy sucks because he didn't do 20 flips.
There was no fucking backflips off the turnbuckle. He didn't almost break his neck. I fucking hate this shit.
Yeah, so like you need that. You need a little bit more people that can move. Like, probably the best recruitment I've seen in years is Shawn Michaels in NXT.
Yeah. Yeah, dude.
That man said, I'm going to get all the pretty women that know how to do backflips. Y'all coming in here, and we're going to do backflips. And it's working.
Yeah.
It's working. And then Carmelo Hayes is like a little bit shorter than me, but he's over. He looks the part, he looks good, and he's relatable. Yeah.
That storyline's fantastic that they're doing with him. It's great.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, it's just like, I think the land that you still want Giants because that's an attraction, but it's more relatable. Shawn Michaels was over. Bret Hart was over during that time when they finally became the guy because they were relatable.
Right.
It comes to a point you get tired of somebody with like that doesn't kind of look like you can't get to that level. Like it's weird.
Alfred, what do you think?
In regards to what aspects, because that's a good question, but like in regards to the makeup of wrestling roster?
Yeah, I just think in general, like, I feel like a lot of this is becoming more of a reset button for Hunter, right? If you look at the guys he's bringing up, like even on SmackDown on Friday, right? You're listening to this on Tuesday. On Friday, they just debuted Axiom on the main roster, and he had a fucking classic cruiserweight match with Dragon Lee. That's a very
awesome
that's a very Triple H-esque match, right?
Yes.
He's bringing in DIY. He's bringing in Jade Cargill. There's a bunch of new talent that are coming up that you wouldn't necessarily see at the top of a Vince McMahon card. So I think my question is more along the lines of, like, we're in like a post-Roman era. How much of these guys do you think are going to be influential in this? How many more are going to change out? What are what's your analysis on that?
Yeah, I think the Triple H era is great in that regard, is that he's bringing in a lot of people and he's making it much like when NXT was at its peak. That's what WWE's main roster is starting to feel like. That's what NXT is starting to feel like with the Booker of the Year, Shawn Michaels. And I think they have a mind meld going on. That's why you're able to see guys come from NXT to WWE and not miss a single step, is because now Triple H and Shawn are boys and there's more continuity between those two brands. And so I think he's done a good job. I think it's superior than what WWE's been in the last like 5 to 10 years with Vince McMahon. My one thing about Triple H, and I've been banging the drum on this for a while now. I like Triple H because people love taking these narratives and spinning them out of control in terms of extremes. I like Triple H. I like the Triple H era, but he's weak when it comes to booking black talent. He just is. How do you screw up Hit Row? How are you screwing up Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits, where you got all these groups that are doing these bloodline ripoffs and they can't get Bobby and the Street Profits off the ground? But other than that, which I think we need to work on, I think he's doing a great job bringing in these wrestlers. But NXT, people need to remember, NXT was over because it was entertaining and because a lot of people were over and because the crowd got into it. It wasn't just this wrestling promotion. You had good storylines. You had the Who Attacked Aleister Black storyline. You had a lot of great parking lot segments that they still do to this day. And so the mixture of great wrestling and good storytelling, which is storytelling is way more important, I think, is what Triple H does well, especially when he does these long-term stories, like what we're seeing with Carmelo or the Bloodline.
Well, that's a good question. That's a good follow-up, though, as far as with Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits, because that looks like a slam dunk to me. They have the new look. They have the appeal. Montez's screw face is at an all-time high, which is fantastic. I can't get my lip up that high and as high as I try, but it seems like it should be a winning formula here. I mean, one of my favorite things from the pandemic era was the Hurt Business. It was incredible. It was very like, we're coming in, we're going to destroy everybody in our path, and if you don't like that, then get the fuck out of our way. I think there was a huge missed opportunity there with the Bloodline in the very beginning. What do you attribute that not getting off the ground to? What do you think he's doing wrong, and what can he do to fix that?
I know, it's the craziest thing, and I'm not implying that Triple H is a racist or that he's trying to hold these brothers back. He's just not good. He just doesn't tap into them. Maybe they don't have the personnel there to tap into the nuances of what would make these great. But it's like, in the dying days of Vince McMahon, say what you will about Vince, WWE was black as fuck in the dying days of Vince McMahon. They were at Rolling Loud. They had Bobby Lashley was champion. Hurt Business was like the original Bloodline. They were like the pandemic Bloodline, where they were front and center. Bianca Belair made her ascent. Now, if you look at the product of some of these stars, Bianca Belair is cooling off. She just keeps getting screwed and she won't turn heel. She's turning into Sting, like the dumb babyface who keeps getting screwed, won't turn heel. They're not doing a good job with Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits. Hit Row is a thing of the past. Like, all these super black factions and stars who are front and center, even as soon as a couple of years ago, I just feel like even when they do try to do something with them, it falls apart.
Wilkins, how can Triple H not be so racist? Let's go back to that real fast because I want to talk. I'm just kidding. Triple H is not a racist. Yeah.
Let's have this conversation. Let's look at what Alfred is saying. First of all, let's look at the Street Profits. I personally, at a time, I was excited when they got back, but they never took off because I thought they were late. I'll just be honest with you. Something was disconnecting for me. AJ, I'm talking to you, especially AJ Francis. I'm talking to you, especially. It's borderline your fault. So it just wasn't connecting. It was just something was just off about the Street Profits, and maybe it was booking because we can always talk about booking, but I don't think the fans even really got behind the Street Profits. Now let's look at Bobby Lashley. What Bobby Lashley's doing? Do I think it's very much like it's like teetering maybe a little bit, but then it's like there's potential there. So I think they're building towards something because as you can see, they're adding a woman to the team potentially. So they're potentially, and then didn't the Street Profits just win the #1 contendership?
Yeah, they're going to fight Judgment Day this week. Yeah.
So hopefully they get to that level of that. So I think they're building on something to slow burn.
Right.
Triple H has an obsession with slow burns, as we saw with when he was in NXT. So I like to give things a year. I'm that wrestling fan. Let's give it a solid year. Let's six months to a year and see what happens. Now, is it shitty right now? Absolutely. Not gonna lie to you. None of this is really working.
Yeah.
None of this is going. We don't know where this is going. I like Bobby being like this criminal mastermind type of situation, so I enjoy that. But I still feel the Street Profits aren't completely healed, or they're not that real bad guy that I really want. Or maybe I'm just biased towards them. So, Is there more that can be done? Yes, absolutely. So let's see what they do. I think, and I'm going back to Alfred about the whole storyline and wrestling. I think right now wrestling fans are way too smart. Even the kids. Yeah. So you have to have quality wrestling, and that was the main problem with like the Vince's era towards the end. It wasn't wrestling. It was just like, we're going to do these storylines, that's about it. And the storylines were very, like, childish.
Right.
If that made any sense.
No, I guess, yeah.
Enough layers. The only thing I was, like, really layering, and nobody would give him the proper due was the Bloodline storyline.
Yeah, right.
Because he asked Paul Heyman to come in. A lot of people don't know that. He's the one who went to Paul Heyman and was like, hey, let's get you working with Roman.
Wow. And
you got to give Vince some credit for that part, because he always knows the main event stuff. The other stuff just crumbles underneath it. Yeah. So right now we're seeing layer type of era with good wrestling. So I think that's what Triple H is at right now. He's trying to like build these up to some good home cooking. Because remember, we're going into the WrestleMania season. Now, if after WrestleMania nothing pops off, I am 100% with Alfred. I am with you 100%.
And the kind of pushback, you're talking about the sample size. I completely agree with you about that sample size, but we have it there. It's 18 months, I think, under the Triple H era, where Vince retired in July of 2022. And if you look at every individual, a lot of these black talents under the last 18 months, it's like, were they better off or worse off? And it's been a while with the Street Profits and Bobby Lashley, but I agree with you. They still do seem like they're in the early stages of their development. Yeah. So, and it does seem like they're committed to them. It's just they haven't connected yet, and I'm just surprised.
Do you think it's a mistake, real fast, just as another layer to this? I know they're bringing in B-Fab from Hit Row. Do you think it's a mistake? Well, actually, two questions, actually. Do you think it's a mistake that they're not, like, kind of folding Bianca Belair into this, this group? And do you think it's a mistake that MVP is not involved in this? Because I think MVP for me was the secret stuff, the Lowrys, if you will, to Bobby Lashley's scrambled eggs or whatever you want to put it in, because I put it in my eggs because that's fucking delicious. But he's the Lowrys to the meal that Bobby Lashley was. I felt like that worked so well because of MVP. What do you guys think about that?
I think it's very awkward that Bobby Lashley is the mouthpiece of this group.
Yeah.
And I love Bobby Lashley, but I think that is a role for MVP is the missing ingredient. I would argue, yes.
So that's a good point, and I think maybe that's what it is. Is Bobby's not a talker?
Mm-hmm. Nor should he be.
Right.
And Triple H is trying to turn him to a talker. I think what we're seeing right now is older talent building up newer talent, and he's trying to really work that. And some guys, they're not 100% can do that. That's not their forte outside the ring. So maybe that's what it is. I don't want Bianca with Montez. Let's keep them separate.
Okay. Do you think she thinks she'd be better as a heel on her own?
Yeah. Why is just?
Yeah.
Because for me, it's like we already know that they go together. We already know that. We already know behind the scenes. But let's do some fake world stuff. Let's go into Sims. We have this world. Sims. Let's build this world. Let's keep them separate. Let's not really have them really going at each other. We already know that they're about to have a show together in about a couple of months, whatever. But in this world of WWE, the Sims that we're going to move around, Sims WWE, they don't go together. One's a bad guy, and I don't want Bianca to turn to heel, to be honest with you. She sells way too much merch. She's kind of cool, but kind of corny at the same time. You know that girl that's like really a dork?
Yeah.
But
I've never been kissed.
yeah, but she's very attractive, and she has her cool factor comes from being very attractive and athletic. But deep down inside, she's a dork.
Yep.
I don't want to turn her into a bad girl. No, leave her be. She doesn't need to be a mean girl. Leave her be the good girl that gets great grades, is number one in the country in her athletic career, and never been kissed. Let's not ruin this. The kids need this. The kids need this.
Well,
I don't need anything else.
I guess I could say from a heel perspective, then we can talk about turn this into Survivor Series with War Games with Drew McIntyre turning heel, apparently joining the Judgment Day. We're going to find out more this week. I'll probably find out more as you're listening to this. But what do you guys feel about Drew McIntyre? I personally love the fact that they're turning him heel. My preference on a Drew McIntyre was that he was more ambiguous, where he wasn't really a face and he wasn't really a heel. He was just literally out for himself. I feel like at War Games, you're going to see that if he does end up joining the Judgment Day's team on their side. I think you're going to watch him screw Damian Priest out of winning the title. Alfred, where are you on this? Wilkins, where are you on this? And then we can pull this apart.
I'm loving the Drew McIntyre heel turn, and I would argue, Wilkins, that I do think they should turn Bianca Belair heel, and I think Drew McIntyre, what they're doing with him is the template. He's in the exact same spot that Bianca Belair was in, but he's reacting, I think, the way that will make him more relatable, even as a heel, even as somebody transitioning in that. He's not this sinister, evil heel. You get why he's mad. You see the simmering bitterness. I keep getting screwed. Nobody's doing anything about this. I don't get my moment. And finally, he snapped. It's the Bret Hart 1997 template, which I don't think Bret Hart was ever better than when he was a heel. And he wasn't necessarily like a black and white heel. He was just an anti-American Canadian hero, just like Bianca Belair. Bianca Belair can still be a hero to these kids. The kids can still support her. They still will. Black people do not turn on our heroes. We're still, protesting for R. Kelly and Michael Jackson. We don't turn on our heroes. So she'll be fine in the black community. She'll be good in the black community. She can just be healed to all these Yakubians who keep screwing her over. And just like Drew McIntyre. Yeah, hell yeah. Just like Drew McIntyre. That's just another way for Caucasians.
It's me. It's me. Yeah.
Bianca Belair got to be cutting promos on these Yakubians with the Street Profits. Now, I would argue, I just think they're doing such a good job with Drew McIntyre that's what makes me, because I agree that they shouldn't turn Bianca just to turn Bianca. She is a natural babyface, but the stories that they're telling, if they keep screwing over these characters, the characters have to change how they're doing their business. Otherwise, people will lose faith in them. And that's what Drew McIntyre is doing that I love, especially that period where he wasn't saving any babyfaces. He's like, yeah, you guys didn't come save me. You figure it out. Yeah. I'm with that. So I like what they're doing with Drew.
All right. So Yakubians.
Welcome everyone to the Yakubian Hour. This is me, Adam Barnard. I'm here with Alfred Konuwa and Sir Wilkins.
Wow. Okay. Drew.
I can't believe you haven't heard that word before.
I haven't heard the word Yakubian, whatever that is. But I never know how to spell Yakubian. Anyway, I don't think Drew's a heel, in my opinion. I don't think he's an anti-hero. He's exactly what you said. He's just annoyed with life. Like, you know that the stuff you see online, my villain arc is about to start? Yeah. He's really not a villain. Yo, Drew McIntyre can't convince me to he's a bad guy. He's just frustrated with life. His boss is pissing him off. His wife didn't make him dinner the past couple of nights, and he wants more money. He wants a raise. He's just annoyed with life. That's all he is, and that's all I see. And he's gonna align himself with the bad guys, but at the end of the day, he has a good heart. That's what I see him as. And the furthest we're gonna go with Bianca as a heel is an anti-hero. I am not going full heel with Bianca at all. I don't believe in that. Yeah. I am standing firmly 10 toes down. Bianca never heel until the next 3 years. I don't care if y'all boo her out the building. She is staying a baby face. There's a little girl that's a Yakubian, Asian, a little girl that's Asian, a little girl that's black, a little girl that's purple. I don't care. You don't turn that into a straight up heel. The Yakubian Empire, the Black Empire, whatever you want to say.
Yakubian Empire. Hey, if there's some Yakubian Empire, you'll be on camera.
My God.
She's the winner. So but I like what they did with Drew because he needed something to go. And
yeah.
Wrestling is like you need momentum. You need to start something going to drive it forward. And listen, the group is the best option for him because it sets up mini storylines.
Right.
That could be done.
Now I think as far as like I said, I think my synopsis or how I feel like this is going to go. Damian's going to cash in after the War Games match. He's going to try to get over on Seth, and Drew is going to fuck him out of the title. That's where it feels like it's going, right? Because I agree. I don't necessarily see him as a heel. I see him as I don't even know if I see him as an anti-hero. I see him just literally out for himself. He's just Batman, right? He's just going to do whatever he needs to do to get the title back around his waist. He doesn't care if it's Jey Uso. He doesn't care if it's Seth Rollins. He doesn't give a shit. Whoever it is, right? He's just going to get what he wants, and he's going to show the world. And I think that character, that incarnation of what he's going to do is going to be absolutely incredible. So I'm excited for that. Going back to being 10 toes down, Sir Wilkins, however, I do want to bring up the fact that what the internet is talking about and believing is going to happen this Saturday in Chicago. It's Cousin Phil, our dear friend Cousin Phil, CM Punk, Chick Magnet Punk, coming back to the WWE for the first time in over a decade. Do you guys think it's going to happen? Because I feel like in some aspects I'm gaslighting myself, right? Is he going to show up? Is he not going to be there? Wilkins, will start with you. And then Alfred, how are you feeling about Cousin Phil's potential return to WWE?
Disclaimer, I do not like Phillip Brooks at all.
Neither does my wife, so you guys are in
You're
that
not
together.
alone.
Yeah.
As a human being, and the things I've heard, because I don't know him personally. I heard stories from wrestlers who've been with him, other people. These are all rumors and stuff. But sometimes, if there's smoke, there's a fire.
Right.
So I'm gonna go off that. That's a disclaimer. Now, CM Punk, the character, regardless of how I feel, that's a moneymaker. That's a moneymaker. The boy does it. I am 70-30 right now. 30, he shows up. 70, he does it. And the reason why I'm that way right now is because they don't really need him.
Yeah.
They don't need CM Punk. CM Punk coming back is the icing on the cake. He's not at his prime as an in-ring person. The mic will never change because he's that good on the mic. But I don't think they need him. Now, being a hater of Phil Brooks, am I gonna pop when that music hits? Yes. Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Your boy's gonna pop in Chicago, and I'm gonna be there live. So if he comes out, oh my God, this is crazy. But that's my 30%. The 70%, I don't think he's showing up. I think CM Punk is a master troll, and he's just trolling away. And that's my take on it.
What do you think, Alfred? Where are you at on Cousin Phil?
I don't think he's coming back at Survivor Series. I think he's coming back to WWE at some point. There's no way I think he's not coming back. This is the wrestling business. They're incentivized to bring him back because they're in this war with AEW. And when they need a narrative shift, if AEW brings in Sasha Banks and that becomes a big story, they'll want to wash that out with CM Punk. So they are hiding him as an ace in the hole. And I do think there is even a chance he does show up at Survivor Series. I just don't expect him there. What I love is the fact that CM Punk is in the news. This is what I anticipated. I do have a CM Punk documentary coming out on Friday. I was anticipating his name to be on the headlines, and I think it's going to be great. Both of you gentlemen may or may not be making cameos at some point in those documentaries with some of the great clips you guys have had talking about CM Punk over the years. So it's going to be a great documentary, and I do think it's going to be good synergy that CM Punk, his name is going to be trending so hard. People, if you want to get to know what CM Punk was like at AEW, go ahead and watch that documentary, The Pipe Bomb Problem, debuting on Friday.
I can't wait, dude. I can't wait to watch it. Thank you, sir. CM Punk also told me to eat my shoes one time after I told the world that he wasn't coming back at Money in the Bank, and then he shows up in AEW. I went, oh, fuck. And he's never responded to me. So, Phil, if you're listening, I can cook my shoes real fast. It'll take me about 20 minutes. But, no, I agree, Alfred. I think, to your point, I think that CM Punk will be back at some point. I think there's a lot of hubbub and a lot of, spinning, especially with Edge signing to AEW. I think they're looking to try to take the sting out of that a little bit. No pun intended. But I think that they're also, it would be more impactful for me to see him show up at a Rumble, right? Show up at the Rumble in like 25, 26, win the whole fucking thing, and then go to take on Seth Rollins. Because I don't think the story is there for Roman and Punk. I think the story initially is going to be Seth and Punk. Punk's going to go over, and then he's going to challenge Cody for something, because I think that story is going to be incredible as well.
I can't wait for that, man.
What? Punk and Cody?
Punk. The thing is, the one thing about CM Punk, because he's such a dick, there's so many good stories that can be told.
Yeah.
Like, let's break it down. Roman and you mentioned Roman and CM Punk. There isn't a legit like in-ring wrestling story. Well, behind the scenes, the mere fact that Punk was like, "Yo, I didn't want Roman in the Shield. I was trying to get what's his name? What's his
It was
name?
Chris Hero.
Chris Hero. Trying to get Chris Hero into the thing instead of Roman, and he kind of, do a jab at Roman about it, and then Roman comes back and was just like, yeah, people were trying to keep me down. Like, that's a story in itself.
Yeah.
I like this. I like the backstage spicy stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a hot sauce connoisseur.
Yes.
I enjoy spicy in my real life and in my
Yeah, man. Yes.
I enjoy the spicy stuff. So there's a lot, and then Cody coming to WWE and then CM Punk going to AEW kind of around the same time. That's a story right there. Seth, CM Punk, they got the back. They may have wrestled in the indie days. Tell me if I'm wrong or not, because I remember I think they did.
I'm pretty sure they did. Yeah, Ring of Honor. Yeah.
So there's stuff in there. Like, CM Punk just being messy.
Yeah.
Adds to great wrestling stuff.
He is the messiest of the messy too. Like, talk about the messiest the messiest bitch at the bar. Like, that's CM Punk. That's who he is. Yeah. He's the girl that's falling down and saying, "Oh my God, I love you so much, but I'm gonna fucking kick your ass." He's the drunk white girl. You gotta like help her get out of the bar because she's too wasted, right? That's him. That's who he is. And I just think I love it. He's just gonna be. It's gonna be great, right? Like you said, like the person Phil Brooks is, from what we've heard, not so great. But CM Punk, he prints money. That's what he does. And I think that if Hunter's goal is to crush Tony and to get this company down, that's what he's going to do. He's going to do anything he needs to do to make business run. What I do want to talk about, because I know we're running short on time here, but I want to talk about the big signing from what we've heard. Tony Khan's another magical, biggest signing in the history of the world and Andromeda and everywhere else. Will Ospreay is now officially signed to AEW. What are your guys' reactions on that? And I also want to talk about Ronda Rousey showing up at Ring of Honor. How do you guys feel about that? Alfred, we'll start with you, and then we'll go to Wilkins.
With Will Ospreay signing, I don't give a shit. I think
fair.
This is the law of diminishing marginal returns. This is like the Ravens coming out and saying, we've signed another running back. And it's like, you've got Gus Edwards, you've got Keaton Mitchell, you've got Justice Hill. Lamar Jackson runs the ball. Who's the ball with another running back there? Like, AEW is not going to level up and transcend the way they need to with another great wrestler. There's plenty of great wrestling. I seen that pay-per-view at Full Gear. It was loaded with great wrestling that nobody's going to be talking about a week from now. AEW needs more MJFs. They don't need another Will Ospreay. They don't need another one of these prototypes with like Kenny Omega checks the same boxes. Bryan Danielson checks the same boxes. Okay, we're going to bring in Will Ospreay. Okay, have great matches. Is he going to tell me any stories? Is he going to do anything that transcends as a character that resonates with me? Because as much as AEW wants to cry about how much they love professional wrestling, their biggest storylines that move the needle, their biggest draws have nothing to do with wrestling. It's Adam Cole and MJF backstage. That's when they caught fire, when they were doing all these skits and when they're doing all this fun entertainment. Roderick Strong, I care about Roderick more than I've ever have, which I never used to care about him, because not his wrestling that everybody always talks about. It's because he's got this character that's hilarious. That Adam has never been more over. So if they're going to promote wrestling and they're going to bring another wrestler into a sea of wrestlers, I don't give a shit. Like, tell me a story. And from what I've seen with Will Ospreay, whether it was his feud with Jericho and the other stuff that he's done with AEW, none of it was based on storyline. It was all about, wait till you see this dream match between Will Ospreay and it's not going to move the needle. It's not going to fill up these arenas that are empty in AEW.
Wilkins, what's your thoughts?
Oh, I'm going to push back on my boy Alfred right now because I fucks with Willie. I fucks with Big Willie. hard. Pause. A lot of pausing on this. Pause.
Pause that.
Because you know what? You're right. He's another great wrestler, but he's more charismatic than half of that roster. The one thing he's learned over the couple of years is that he needs to be more charismatic on the mic, and he's done a good job. You are 100% right. They need more storylines in AEW, and that's where they're at right now. They're rebuilding. AEW's at a rebuilding phase. Nobody wants to admit it. When the CM Punk situation happened and they were done, they had a rebuilding phase 100%, and they're trying to rebuild that roster back up. Some AEW fans don't like the MJF situation. They think it's too much storylines, too much BS going on. But I disagree with them because of what Alfred said. You're invested. When we watched Full Gear, all of us, we were like, what the hell is going on with MJF and this match? Jay White, you're leaving. What's going on? But you know what? I'm going to tell you guys right now. Usually AEWs go way too long for me because my ass is old and I need to be in bed by 10:30. And I'm going to tell you something. When I saw that situation, I was like, this is some BS. What is going on? And I'm going to tell you this now. I stayed up to watch it.
Wow.
Usually I leave the bar. I go home because I usually have a viewing party. By the way, 120 plus people watching Full Gear at Legend. Shout outs to us.
Nice.
Podcast. So
yeah.
I usually go home because it's way too long for me. But I stayed because I was like, I need to know what's going to happen. And it goes back to what Alfred said. You're invested. It is a lot of hoopla going on. You may not agree with it, but you're invested. And they need more of it. I think Will can add that because, to be honest, Kenny's out the door. There's no reason why he's doing tag team matches and trios matches. He's out the door. His body is finito. And nobody wants to talk about that. His body is finito because New Japan Wrestling will mess you up. Now, you mentioned Ronda Rousey. I'm going to tell you this right now. Ronda Rousey is the greatest friend you could ever have in your life. Because the reason why she's an all-right because of her homegirl. She's buddy with the homie. I'm come support you. And I also think Ronda wants to take wrestling more serious. And I think she couldn't do it with WWE because you're too much on that high platform. It's like being in the NBA trying to relearn your skills. It's kind of hard doing that in such a huge spotlight. So you know what? Let me take it back a little bit. Let me go to the G League, which is ROH. I don't care what anybody says. ROH right now is the G League in professional wrestling. On that
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
So she's going back to the G League, and then she's doing some indie shows, taking some real bumps. She almost died.
Yeah.
I think she wants to take wrestling a little bit more serious and up her game. Well, a lot of people don't know, Ronda actually likes wrestling. She's not the greatest at it, but she loves professional wrestling. The mere fact, when her match she had with Sasha Banks, she went with Sasha to Queens, New York, to go see Amazing Red to help with their match, says a lot about who Ronda Rousey is when it comes to her love of professional wrestling. She's not good. We know that. But at the same time, she adds notoriety, and she's a pop. But I think she's going back to the basics to better learn the craft and potentially have a good run at being a better professional wrestler. Because remember, she's an athlete, and athletes have egos.
Yep.
So they want to be good at what they do. So that's my Ronda Rousey take. But once again, those types of people, the caucus mountain. What did you say again?
The Yakubians?
The Yakubians.
The Yakubian Empire wins again. I don't know. It has nothing to do with anything. I just want to say Yakubian again.
Ronda could be in the Yakubian Empire. That would be scary. That's your war games. It's the Yakubian Empire versus the Black Panthers next year.
Hey, we're printing money, goddammit. I love it. I fucking love it, Alfred. It's a great shit. Now, I know like I said, we're running out of time here. We'll just quickly touch on Swerve Strickland real fast because he seems like, my wife, her favorite phrase of mine is strap a rocket to his back and shoot him to the fucking moon. That guy is over his shit. What an incredible professional wrestler, sports entertainer. What do you guys feel about Swerve Strickland, and how soon are they going to put that fucking belt on him?
I think they'll put the belt on him soon. I think they'll put the belt on him soon. I think that's it's inevitable. He has proven himself. I think he is corny as shit. I don't think he's really a gangster rapper. Listen, I'm not a gangster. I know corny because I'm corny. So I can tell when a guy is corny.
Right.
And I was raised in Jamaica, Queens. I've seen the gangsters. So I didn't hang out with them, but I saw them. They know me. They know, hey, Wilkins, what's going on? You've been still doing that wrestling stuff. I see you, dogs. Hey.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I'm on my way. Please, I'm out. Yeah.
Exactly. But at the end of the day, he's proven himself.
Yeah.
And I'm always going to admit when somebody's doing well. He did his thing last night, or whenever at Full Gear, he did it. And his promos have been solid. The way he's telling stories have been solid. Everything is good. Now, this is in the hands of Tony Khan. Are you going to do the right thing?
Right.
Or are you going to put him in even bigger storylines? You just put him with your guy. Adam Page is the guy that helps everybody else get over. He's your litmus test. Yeah. He's the guy that you put somebody away and see how it goes. And he passed the test exponentially. So is Tony Khan going to do the right thing? That's the real question here. We all know, everybody in the wrestling community knows it is time to take Swerve to the next level. Everything about him is over. But is Tony Khan gonna pull the trigger?
Alfred, what are your thoughts?
I think it's great. It's a great sign that he beat Hangman Adam Page in back-to-back pay-per-view matches. You don't see that a lot in wrestling. AEW doesn't do as much 50-50 booking as WWE, but they still do it more times than not. So the fact that Swerve got so, messy with Adam Page's family and still able to win as a heel, I think is a big sign for him. I don't think the storyline has been perfect with Hangman Adam Page, but I do like that Swerve has leveled up, and I think it's time. Like, MJF has had that title for a record amount of time, and I'm sure eventually they're going to wrap this up. It's not time to dethrone MJF just yet, but they need to be considering Swerve as the guy who dethrones MJF. I think that would be a great launching point for him. And I think if Swerve does not become a world champion from this point on, it is 100% on AEW and Tony Khan, because they have done a good job of building this guy up. Now it's just time to finish his story, so to speak.
That's a good tie-in. As a side note, let's go, Cody. One quick thing before I let you guys go today. Wilkins, I wanted to just ask you quick about your favorite wrestler, Sting. I know that he's retiring soon. I'll have this for you when I see you in Philadelphia. But I know that he's going to be retiring soon. Are you sad? Like, your level of sadness, where are you with this? And just tell me more about your thoughts with Sting leaving professional wrestling.
Sting should have retired 2 years ago.
Wow.
And Sting, I will always say this, Sting is what the epitome of a loyal wrestler is. He's like Undertaker. Stay with us one company, super over. But I will say this to the day that I leave this earth, Sting is not a mega superstar. He's a star. He's a tier 2 guy. He's not on the level of Hogan, not on the level of Flair, not on the level of Stone Cold, not on the level of The Rock. He's not that guy.
Wow.
He is right underneath, and it's okay. It's okay to be a multi-time All-Star, but never the face of the franchise.
Wow. Well, I'm always going to rile you up about Sting when I have you on the show. Gentlemen, I want to thank you both for being here. I really appreciate it. Alfred, I want to give you time to plug everything you have going on. Wilkins as well. We'll start with you. Tell everybody where they can keep up to date with you on social media, and remind everybody about your CM Punk documentary coming this week.
Hell yeah. Go on Pro Wrestling Bits on YouTube. Watch that CM Punk documentary, almost an hour, and it's some good stuff. I just saw the rough cut. It's going to be out We're going to release a trailer and everything. It's going to be a nice run-up in the documentary. Day after Thanksgiving, everybody's going to be home. Day before Survivor Series. So in the morning, the CM Punk documentary, The Pipe Bomb Problem, will be out on my YouTube channel, Pro Wrestling Bits. You can otherwise follow me on Twitter, @ThisIsNasty. Watch my Forbes coverage of Full Gear and other stuff that's going to be coming up in terms of big stories in wrestling, covering the ratings of Friday Night War. I got a piece about that, Collision versus SmackDown. So watch me on Forbes, follow me on Twitter, @ThisIsNasty, and then subscribe to Pro Wrestling Bits.
Wilkins, what about you, man?
Shout out to Mr. Nasty.
Hey.
So Wilkins here. You can find me on all forms of social media, SIR_Wilkins, WILKINS. I'm also a co-host of the Jobber Tears podcast.
Great podcast.
Great show.
Also on all forms of social media. We are here to debate, have fun, and talk shit.
And talk shit we will, sir, because that's what we did here today. I appreciate you guys being on the show again, as always. We're going to have a run-up to WrestleMania 40 here in my hometown of Philadelphia. I'll have these fine gentlemen back on with us to do that as well. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter, Instagram, because I'm never calling it fucking X. It's not going to happen. Until I leave this earth, it's not happening. And I'm also on Blue Sky, which is like Twitter without all the bullshit and, the racism and the anti-Semitism. You can follow me there @ThisIsGoober. Yes, it's my handle. No, it's not. I'm not changing it. It's a brand, pal. We will see you again next week. I'm Adam Barnard. Thank you, Joe, so much for joining me on Foundation Radio. Peace.
Foundation Radio is hosted, recorded, and produced by Adam Barnard. Additional production and narration provided by Sam Krepps. The show was mixed and engineered by Carl Pannell. Our intro and outro music was performed and produced by Dumb Ugly. Additional musical accompaniment provided by Enrichment. Special thanks to Greg Mead, Joe Keane, Geoff Quinn, and Dr. Ruth Almy. Follow us on Twitter @FND Radio Pod and find our entire archive at foundationradio.net. This has been a Butts Carlton Media production. Butts Carlton, proprietor.